everything is lopsided. Sort of like, I don't know who is on today, but I will just briefly introduce myself maybe. So I'm Tünde, and I did this research, as Angelis was mentioning it, on coaching presence with coaches from all over the world. And apparently, somehow, I don't know how, but Angelis and I met also at one point when I was recruiting coaches for the project. And what happened is that she then contacted me when the project was completed and said, Tünde, don't you want to write a book? And I said, well, I'm barely finished and we haven't evaluated the results yet. So what is your idea? And that's how actually this book project came to life, because Angelis had this idea to just propose something to me. And actually, this is the first question that I have to you, Angelis. So
yes,
what prompted you to reach out to me and propose this project to us?
Well, I thought you'd done a fantastic job putting us together. I don't know if you mentioned, it's 178 coaches at the end, right?
Yes.
That you gathered. That is a huge achievement. So I thought, well, what if I propose to Tünde a way that we can capture all the knowledge that the coaches learn, all that we learned from being part of the research. What kind of a book would that be? And I think it's that was my main motivation. I learned so much, and I was so excited to be part of it. And I saw how hard you worked, and I thought, oh, this is at least 2 or 3 books here. So let me propose this book about all of these coaches from around the world coming together and supporting coaching science, which is what we all have in common. And that's how we met. And that's how we are collaborating today in this book.
Yes. And so actually what is coming to my mind right now is that when I remember back how it was not an opportune moment. So it wasn't a moment, and I want to stress it, because it was just a moment when I felt like saying no to this, because I so much felt overwhelmed with the data, and we had massive data, and I had absolutely no idea how to deal with all that in the first place. And then something happened in my private life as well, and I just said, no, don't just put another stuff on my plate. I can't handle all this.
Well, you forgot one little thing, a pandemic.
And then, okay, so that came later. Okay?
But not too much later, because, it was right when we began this project, right?
It was November, December. You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you see how blurred my memory is about this? And then when somehow, I don't know why, I had to say yes to this, because what you had proposed, and that landed with me very strongly, is to write with the coaches and who had participated. So I felt like, okay, that's worthwhile doing, because giving the people who had taken part in this, to give the people a voice to express themselves, that was something that I deeply cared about, because why would, like, the data alone is really just figures. And quite honestly, doing research is not fun, guys, okay? Because because researchers do not have a high reputation. Nobody likes research because it's complex and complicated. It doesn't make sense. You can just put the figures together the way you want, then you interpret it, then you present it, and then you are the big star. But people don't seem to believe in research these days. It's very difficult to persuade people to come on board and also trust it. So what I have come to realize while being on my project is that while I had been inspired to do research because I truly believe in the value of doing scientific and empirical work, I found that practitioners out there, or just generally speaking, people, they have a hard time trusting data because they don't know where it comes from, who did it, so how it happened, how the data came about. Because it's not a lot that's being disclosed about how research is being done. So we are not very transparent, really, okay? So when you suggested to me, like, hey, Tünde, let's just have the coaches speak and talk about their experience, you were speaking to my heart. Because I said, okay, yeah, oh yeah, because I said, okay, so we will have the hard facts, but then we will have this rich, the soft facts, but in a rich way, and that will complement transparently, because people will be talking about what went on for them and how they potentially also transformed, or what did the project do to them in terms of coaches, what did they learn on one hand, and then on the other hand also, how do they value research now? Mm-hmm. So that's why I felt drawn in, and I had to say yes. And then I know that I put a constraint on you. I said, and now we need to do it fast. Because
oh my goodness, yes. So this project is a project that takes at least 12 to 18 months. And we've done it in 6. In the middle of a pandemic, personal, catastrophic situations, and long distance. We've never met in person. None of the, well, I haven't met any other coaches in person, or you. And so it's, I think I'm pretty proud of that, because this was magic, really. It was, we were all guts, and we were just going to get it done, and we did. So I'm super excited about that. One thing that I really attracted me to creating this proposal, right, and then presenting it to you, was that there was such diversity in the cultures of the coaches, different countries. We were so distant, but we had that common purpose, right, to help people grow and develop through coaching. So that really did inspire me. I wanted to capture all their experiences, and we know also that they're all at different levels and stages of in their career or in their businesses, if they have a private practice, if they don't work inside organizations. So that was really interesting as well. What's the perspective of somebody that is a new practitioner that works internally in an organization, and how about another one that has a PhD, has the experience, and has their own practice? All of these different viewpoints for me were just amazing. We're so important to capture all of that experiences and make it interesting and encouraging people to do coaching, which is what the main the core idea, because we know we have seen people transform, grow, do amazing things through coaching. We believe in it, so we want to support the science and the development of it.
Yes, and actually, because we were like thinking about like, how will we talk about this book, and then we were kind of like, what is the question that everyone might be interested in getting answered? And one of the questions that we had reflected for ourselves was like, what is the need for this book, right? And why this book, and what is the goal of this? And I don't know how you feel about this, but I just, on giving it a thought, I thought, like, I don't know if there is a need for this book, honestly. I don't know if there is a need for anything in life. Well, yeah, honestly, it's kind of, why would? There are so many books out there. People are very, like, today, 21st century, it's so easy to actually just sit down and write up something and get it out there. So I thought to myself, basically, I'm not sure if there is any need. But what I know might be there is, and that's why potentially everyone is here, is because you deeply care about something. And because that was also what got me hooked, right? I felt like I deeply care about something when I started doing the research project and I think if we can find like something that what is it that we deeply care about when we do science, Angelis? What is that? Because we seem to somehow, like, you are also a scientist, right? And you're committed and you do applied sciences. So your heart is beating for how to apply it and how to further it. So what is it for you that you would say, like, okay, so this is why I deeply care about it?
Well, you said it before. You when we started, you talked about how research or data, facts are have become so not necessarily, I guess the prestige of it, the importance has been really minimized, and we have ignored data and science that is valuable. Very recently, there's this decline, right? And in the appreciation for science, and for us, we use science in our practices. We have that foundation of methods that have worked before, but we're also very curious about what else can we do for our clients. How much further can we go with them? What else can we provide for them? So we're always looking for gaps and ways to do differently our work. So yes, we have the curiosity, we have the passion, right, to do better and to create products and all that. And that's how I see science. Science is we build on each other's work. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, that is the definition of being collaborative and integrating ideas. It's just so valuable. There is, I mentioned a little bit in the book about how so little research, great information, knowledge that we gather through research is not used. It's just like a very small percentage. And I believe that if we work together with scientists, practitioners and scientists, that could be increased immensely. And in a situation like we have now, that we're looking for a cure, for a vaccine, during this situation, mm-hmm. it was for me so important to talk about this. Mm-hmm. Practitioners and scientists, the people that are on the trenches and the people that are doing in the lab, that are studying and all of that, coming together, they're the ones that are going to solve the big problems.
Yeah. Okay. It is, what's striking me is, like, we were also speaking about this pandemic situation, and the first time that we spoke about it, like, not again. Let's not just bring this, don't mess up this thing with the other thing. It's a mess. And then again, I reflected it and I said, okay, so because I am passionate about doing scientific work, if we do it properly, it can actually give our profession huge credibility that we really are in dire need of. We need more credibility for what we are doing as coaches if we care about our profession and if we care to see it as a profession in the first place. Credibility and transparency, so that we can so that clients can trust our work. And we don't have to do the trust work first, but they come on board because they know that, okay, I participated in research, I have done my fair share, I have done that experience, I know what science is. And then as a coach, I can also speak from that place. I am both a practitioner and I participated in research. I'm a scientist. I hadn't probably done my own piece of research, but I did informally reflect. And I did sort of, like, we call it informally action research. I inquired into myself. I did this bit of self-inquiry. So to reflect myself, to reflect my practice through research, and I got feedback on that, right? And that's something that, when I now link it up to the pandemic situation, is, if I don't see, because also the title of our session today is, I think it's about the ailing world. And I just thought, no, I don't see it as an ailing world. I see it as a healing world. If we have an opportunity to, well, we can see it, we can choose. We have always a choice that we can make. We can see it as an ailing world, that we see like, okay, so we have a problem, which is very important to see problems when you're a researcher. It's always good to see a problem, because then you can find out more about it and potentially find a solution to it. But what I choose to see is the healing world. So, and speak to you guys that who are listening to this, that what is it that I'm caring for? What I was actually addressing about myself, when I did this piece of research, I deeply felt that I care about something. When I said yes to the book project, I deeply cared about creating more transparency in how we do research. Not just providing some facts and figures and telling the people how great I am because I had done this piece of research, but invite the coaches to talk about the experiences. So I had something that I deeply care about. So the question to you is, can you potentially find something in coaching? Or maybe there might be some people who are listening to this who are not necessarily coaches, but who do something in their life. And is there anything in that profession or what you are doing that you deeply care about, that you would like to enhance, you would like to embellish, you would like to add value to? And you could do it by investigating a problem in that specific area and field. Then let me just inspire you and let me just tell you, go for it. It doesn't need to be a formal research the way I had done it. You can informally inquire, investigate a piece of problem, but in a positive way, towards finding a solution, towards finding an answer, and then share it with others. Because that's basically what we have been trying to do with this book. It's also a nonprofit project, right? So we are trying to show everyone that we're really not just like that we walk the talk. We are not just saying that we care. It's really like we want to, with the revenues, if we ever get any revenues, because we are funding this ourselves, and through the contributions that participating coaches had made. So we are trying to publish this book together and funding it together. But we want to have the revenues go towards a research project that we said that we would eventually finally decide which one it should be that's worthwhile funding. So this is basically the purpose also of this interview today, to create a little bit more clarity about what you could also do and how you could replicate. Find something that you deeply care about, and you will see that people will follow you. Because it was so amazing, Angelis, right? When you said, well, will you find the coaches that will want to contribute to this book? And I said, I think yes. I think yes.
Actually, we had more enthusiasm about the project than coaches that we could fit in, which was a good problem to have, right?
Yes.
And I'm glad I didn't make the decision. Because they were all amazing. But yes, and I'm glad you mentioned the how we're going to use the profits for the book. We are also not only fund the research projects, but also we are supporting as well. We're donating to the ICF Foundation, which helps people around the world with free coaching, career coaching, business coaching, and that is a worthy cause to support, and something that we're really proud to be part of donating percentage of the profits to it as well. So it's very interesting, because that was the first thing we talked about. Okay, so what are the goals for this book? And we were very in sync in, yes, we want to inspire people to do more science and be more comfortable with measuring in their own practices and becoming more proficient at it, so that we can show results, like real results as part of the science, but also how we're going to give back. And we have very generous coaches that not only donated their time and their experience and everything to the research project, but now they wrote chapters for the book.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I wanted to say thank you to everyone. I don't know how many people are present right now who participated. I know that Grace is here and Maureen from Australia. And I think that we want them to speak as well a bit or to share something.
Yes.
And so that they can either ask a question or tell a little bit about like their perspectives, like what they appreciated most about both the book project and the research project. So because it's not about us actually here. I want to honor the people who had said yes to this and made it possible, both the research project, and I want to stress it one more time, without you guys, we would not be sitting here feeling happy, feeling inspired, trying to pass on this inspiration to you, trying to instigate a big curiosity in you to find something that you care about and you want to investigate further, and then to share it with the world. Ailing world or healing world, doesn't matter. To find a time.
I'm going to change the name of the... That is so much better.
Healing world.
I love it. Well, I have unmuted Dr. Grace Q and Maureen Owen. They're both coaches, one in Australia and the other one in UK. And if you'd like to introduce them and go ahead, I think it'll be a good time to do that.
Okay, so Maureen, can I invite you to speak first, and I will first introduce you a bit, and I hope I am going to do a good job of it.
Okay.
It's okay. This is a conversation. We're very, very warm and informal conversation.
Maureen, the first thing that I still remember the interview. So I conducted interviews with everyone. First to check in, so are these professional coaches? Because all the coaches who participated in the research project are professional coaches. And what is their level of experience? And so what is also, what is their stance on coaching? What is their philosophy of it behind? Who are these people? So basically I conducted 192 interviews and more, because a lot of people said no to the project. So Maureen, and the first thing what struck me was your energy and your dedication and this unconditional dedication to, I want to contribute, I want to do something. I don't remember your words, okay? Please don't nail me on that. But I do remember your energy. I do, because energy, we were measuring energy, so energy is something that I believe I know a little bit more about now. It felt so warm and so warm, like warmed up for coaching. What is it that inspired you to say yes to both the research project and the book project?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, like, it was a no-brainer because it involved two of my greatest passions, Tünde. So both the research project and the book project involved deep learning and partnership, like true partnership, doing something together, co-creating something together. So I had to say yes. And I remember that interview as well, Tünde, and it was like I was in a room that it had good lighting, but all of a sudden the lighting just went up and the whole landscape was lit up. Do you know, like, because I can remember we had a conversation about presence and you asked me what did it mean, and you said, well, to me it means this. And I just thought, oh my goodness, that's so much more expansive than how I've been thinking about this important thing. I wonder what would happen if I start to work with it in the way that Tünde is describing. And so that was that was my warm up to the project. And wow, like, like it's kind of, yeah, be careful what you say yes to, because you never know what adventure you're signing up to. And so
you signed up for 2 adventures.
well, that's right. And it has been amazing. So I was in the process of, I had decided that in 2019 I would work towards my PCC, which is a professional credential coach with ICF. And it can feel like a series of hurdles. You have to pull a whole lot of things together, demonstrate a whole lot of things, and submit your things and hope you're judged as getting over the bar. And I wanted to make sure I gave it my absolute best shot. And so I knew that signing up to participate in something like the research project would actually support me to do that in a really fulsome way. And it did do that. It absolutely did that. However, I have got so much more out of the book project and the research project than I ever anticipated. So look, I'm saying this from the perspective that if I can learn something from anything, even if it's something that's incredibly challenging, then I don't know, I feel alive and I feel happy, and like it adds meaning to my life. So learning is my thing, really. Just as well, that's what I do for a living. And so the project gave me, even like I was signing up for learning, and I got learning like 100 times more than I ever anticipated. And one of the things that, like for coaches on the line that are listening to this, one of the things that the research has really done for me is help me integrate all my learning as a coach and my learning as an organizational development practitioner for 25 plus years, and like all the formal study. It's helped me really integrate that into a way of work, like a way of being really in the world, but also a way of being a coach that's uniquely mine, that I feel like I'm standing on really solid ground rather than carrying a whole lot of all these different theories and approaches with me. I feel like I've integrated them, and I'm not sure how that magic has happened or how Tünde helped me facilitate that. She asks incredibly good questions that get you thinking for weeks, maybe years. So that, yes, that integration process has really made an enormous difference to me as a coach and as just as a human being, and how I'm turning up in the world. So thank you, both Tünde and Angelis. It's been amazing.
Maureen, I hear you say integration, and I just wonder, how do you notice that your clients, or what is that the clients get from this integration? Do you notice anything, or what is the feedback that you get from them in response to how you perceive that now you have integrated learning in a different way? And can you say something a little bit about that as well?
So this is just my perception, and I guess I've based a little bit on the feedback that I've received in relation to the coaching that was attached to the research project. So I coached 3 clients, and I guess what I noticed in that, and I had made this commitment to myself too, that I would coach the whole person in their whole life, and whatever it was that they were working on was attached to that. And so each of my clients had major things happen to them during the coaching process, and that was all incorporated in there. So that was integrated in there. And so they were using their resources, all their resources as people, to respond to that. And even even when those other events completely sideswipe them, amazingly, they still achieved 80 to 90% of their other goals that had kind of shifted away from what we focused on in the coaching. Which
That's
I thought
very interesting, Maureen, because you know what? We haven't mentioned that we have a whole section of the book that is the client's voice.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Yes. And I guess the other thing to answer Tünde's question is the feedback I received from those coaches. So some of the comments like just blew me away. I've never had comments like this before. So one of the comments from my clients was, I have never felt so alive as I did after I walked out of one of your coaching sessions. I don't know, for me as a coach, I don't know if feedback gets any better than that.
That's right.
Cool.
So that would be one example of that, Tünde, yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Angelis, you know what, at this point, I would be just so curious to see if anybody has got something to say or ask Maureen as well, or happen to jot down questions or commands that we might also integrate, because we're talking about integration. So how can we integrate the people who are actually listening to all or ever hearing, right? So is there a way that we can make this happen? Because I'm not having anything open other than the Zoom link.
I get it. And I, as soon as if you want to go ahead and talk with Grace, I'll get some questions ready for you. I'll collect them and then I'll ask them the last 10 minutes, let's say.
Okay, that's
that work?
Yes, brilliant. Okay, Maureen, thank you very much for now. So I was hoping that we might get some questions for you, but just hold the space and maybe there will be some questions to you from the audience as well, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Grace, ready to rumble?
Yes, I am.
So I am supposed to introduce you too. Now let me just think back. What is it that comes to my mind about you? Oh yes, you're so spontaneous. Yes, you are so responsive and spontaneous. This is how I experience you, okay? And also the way when I met you, you were like, can I say like on fire? You were like, yeah, this is I want to say you kind of, and you're also writing it a bit in your chapter. I don't want to give away too much about what you have written in your chapter, but you said like, without even giving it a thought, I said yes. And you know what, the thing about when I experienced you further, further into the project, and also now in the research project, and now into the book project, is that you are not that spontaneous after all. You do have a very, very analytical way of approaching things, and structured and reflective. So this is something that sticks out for me about you. And I wanted to honor this. So I love this, the both sides of you, how you can say yes to something immediately and spontaneously on one hand, and then you will have this other deep side where you will, oh, no, Tünde, hold your horses, yeah? So a bit more slowly and take your time to analyze and reflect. What prompted you to say yes so spontaneously to the project?
Right, thank you very much, Tünde, and actually you described me so well. Right, what prompted me? Spontaneous, I got a message through and I read it and I thought, wow, how interesting, how intriguing. I'm naturally, and I've always been a person who's been curious. I've always got and still have the desire and love for learning. And I think that's what really sort of carried me through as well, because as soon as I saw the message, I thought, this is interesting. This is about me as a coach. This is about self-reflection. Hang on a minute, I said to myself, I've got to reflect about my own practices, I've got to find out how am I, which is now the title with the book, how am I so they can be? So I started asking myself questions as I was, taking my journey, as I was actually going to London on that day. And I felt drawn, and I thought, I love this. This is a great opportunity for me to go and allow myself to be vulnerable, which is like you're taking a risk and you're thinking, how often do you allow yourself to be vulnerable? And I just wanted to be able to do that. Why? Because I care about my client and really wanted to explore and find out ways in which I could enhance the way that I work with them. I could enhance the way that I would give them, add value in a very special way to my client. Mm-hmm. So to me, this was a journey of self-inquiry. It was a journey of reflection. It was a journey of, stopping and thinking, if I think that my client is okay, what makes me really say my client is okay? How am I judging that? The biggest challenge with the whole process, having said yes, was actually the coaching sessions. Because, what I experienced in those coaching sessions, which were recorded for the research, was I became more self-aware in terms of how I came across as a coach, how I came across as a person, how it affected my client. So it sort of, it heightened my curiosity, but also heightened the way in which I behaved as a coach. Mm-hmm. The sort of that curiosity built on and became bigger as this project evolved, because I kept asking questions, and I used to have chats with Tünde where I'll just think, I've got a question, I'm curious. And, Tünde, thank you very much. You always accommodated that and listened, because I had thousands of questions flowing in my mind. I just wanted to explore them. And this obviously has led on to something else, which you will, find out in the book, because I am curious now to even find out. We've done this project, which has been absolutely incredible, a great opportunity. And thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this, team, that I now feel that I've been ignited to move further and go into research around coaching, because coaching needs, to be validated as a profession. We get so many coaches, and yet we don't have any scientific research to validate any of the coaching that we do. So
we do have increasing body of research. So we we are growing.
The momentum, we're on the wave now. We're just
but Grace, your point is, and you're on there, that we don't have process research. Because what is, and you brought up and Maureen was also mentioning the aspect of process. So, and she was bringing in the element of learning and the process of integration, and it's kind of like the growth through the process. And thank you to both of you for bringing this up, because it makes a huge difference whether I do research by having people just complete a survey.
Yeah.
It's a simple survey. I just check a few questions, or even if I check 150 questions, but it's a momentary piece of evaluation or a reflection on something that had happened. And you know how biased we can be about past experiences. And that's also why I was so intent on getting this project done, because our memories fade. Even if we had participated in something, we will tend to forget, no matter how moving or touching something had been. Mm-hmm. So doing process research means that you are in the midst of it, there is this experience, there is the, we can research, we can look inside the coaching room and fully knowing, and I know that this is also an ethical issue, guys, and the coaching space is a confidential thing, but we had done everything that we needed to do to keep things ethical. But if we cannot look into the process of how coaches work and how clients learn, that's where we will always have a big gap. And that's where I have this deep inspiration to also, like, I feel ignited like you feel ignited, that to pass on this inspiration to, please guys, self-inquire a bit more about into your process, because that's where the richness of the learning is and lies. And that's where research also needs to grow more, because we do have other types of research. We do, and it's a growing body, but we don't have process research. And that's what my heart beats for. That's what I care so deeply for, process research.
Yeah. Tünde, I just wanted to let you know that we have some questions coming up. Okay. And the first one is exactly what you're talking about right now. So it's perfect. It is.
I can feel you guys. I can feel your energy, okay?
Right on cue, right. So, no, they're asking, what is this research you're talking about? And I don't think we really explained very well what the coaching presence research was, and what was the question that you were looking to answer with the research. Would you mind telling us about that?
Okay, sure. No, I don't mind. No. So basically, in a nutshell, okay, because and now you ignited another fire in me. So whoever asked the question is, so we call this in our jargon interpersonal synchrony. Basically, what interpersonal synchrony is, that how. And there are several ways of looking into interpersonal synchrony. You can look it into through nonverbals, like how physically, through your physicality, two people coordinate each other, but spontaneously. So we are not looking into how you imitate each other, either verbally or non-verbally, facially or through tone or whatever, but through this, like fish, schools of fish would synchronize with each other, you know, because they respond to the pressure in the water, because they have the sensors along each side of the body. So they do go with the flow, kind of like they sync in with each other, and that's how they feel safe. And that's exactly what the research is about. Like, we videotape sessions over time, and we wanted to know, because my hypothesis was that the body will not lie. So if we look in, we don't need to look into the conversations, like what people speak about. So, and I couldn't possibly also analyze all those conversations, because I don't speak all those languages. So we just wanted to just take a look, like, okay, so when and we remove the audio material. So how would people, through how they move with each other, they sink in like schools of fish would. And what would that be the impact on the client's sense of safety? Because feeling safe is so important. And the research project grew out of practice. So I didn't just start, for those who are not familiar with the research project, is that I didn't want ever to become an academic, or that hadn't been my career plan at all. So this project happened to me because I had a coach-client experience where I failed. So I encountered a problem and it was my client, and owing to my client and the client's awareness and the ability to articulate herself, that I could become curious about that problem. And the problem specifically was that when I was using words, I was saying, oh yeah, I understand. Actually, my body drew back, literally drew back. And it seemed to happen a couple of times without me noticing it. And she brought it up and said, Tünde, why? What is this? So you're saying, I understand you, but actually, like, your body goes back. And she was so confused about this that she said, like, she really said, I don't think that coaching works for me. And And she said like, yeah, okay, she was attaining her goals, yeah? She was actually progressing. But still she didn't feel safe enough because something wasn't congruent for her in how I was showing up. So how I was being in the sessions. So that's what we looked into, like this, how nonverbals, but this spontaneous responsiveness to each other. So presence, but presence looked at it as a dynamic mechanism between both coach and client. So presence is not about the coach. It's about both of them, how they influence each other and how they shape each other's being with each other. And then eventually how that facilitates clients learning because they start feeling safe or not. So that's what I was curious
and
about.
You know what I love about it is that so many applications to the research. That's what I do best, right? It's look at how to implement this amazing knowledge in different areas. And that's why we also invited people that are in human resources, that are in management, students in business students and all of that to read this book, because all of this, we all need to be a coach at a certain time. So that's why the book is so helpful. And let me just go ahead because we have just a few more minutes. Let me just read a couple more questions. And we have one here, and it's for Maureen. And they're asking that wonderful example that you gave, where the client said that she or he had never felt so alive. What are some of the things you do in your coaching to elicit that fabulous response?
Oh,
I don't know if you can answer that in like a minute or 30 seconds.
Be sharp, Maureen, be sharp.
Be sharp.
Maureen.
I think the two things that come to mind are, like, one is presence. So the whole focus of Tünde's research was around presence, and so being really present to everything that was going on. And an example of that for that particular client is, one day I arrived for a session and they were talking about their weekend and how they'd been killing spiders all weekend. And then I get into the room and this client is squashing a spider. And then halfway through, I asked her, what do you want to focus on? And she leapt off the chair and smacked this spider on the wall. And I thought, this is an opportunity to really ask, like, to be present to the spiders. Like, normally I would have just ignored that and seen it as a distraction. But I asked this particular client, what's the relationship between all these spiders and the goal that you're working on? That question, which seems like almost like a silly question, was like a lightning bolt for that client. That provided so much insight that we ended up spending sessions and sessions on that. And so that presence, really taking note of what's happening around you and within you and for the client, and using that as a resource, would be one thing. And the other thing that this client said to me about my coaching approach was being non-judgmental. That's so really not judging anything. And I do try to do this. I don't know if I do this 100% of the time, but really not to judge things or them about being good or bad. It's just information, and being curious about how we can work with that to move forward, to develop and evolve, to live richer, more meaningful lives. I think they're the two things that come to mind. I'm sure there are probably other things, and I guess just turning up, like Tünde says, and to keep working on your process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Maureen. I just looked at the time. We are 1 minute over. And Tünde, you managed, when you responded to what the research was about, you managed to answer 3 questions in one. So thank you. And we really don't have any more time for more questions, but I'd like to, would you like to close the event by giving us what you aspire to accomplish, or what you and I aspire to accomplish with the book? Is there something that you see that it's already happening in our discipline, in our industry, that our book is supporting?
Yes. It's very easy to answer this.
Good.
Because, and I will be sharp and short, yeah? So
Good.
what is happening is that already 3 people came to me and said, Tünde, how help me start doing research. So and that was what I said I did deeply care for. So how can I inspire other people to start doing research? And 3 coaches came to me and said, okay, the one was asking me about like getting a supervisor, and the other one was asking me about the design, and then just like how does it work, generally speaking. So, and my purpose was like, if I can touch one life, if I can touch one person through what I'm doing, create this ripple effect, then I'm the happiest person alive. Even if nobody buys the book, okay? I don't care, because I was able to touch people's life and inspire to do investigation into they felt like, okay, it's worthwhile investing themselves in something that is potentially not about money making. So that's how I would like to answer this question.
Thank you so much. I think we've given them a lot to think about, and we're going to give them even more tools when we meet again the day of the book launch, the real date of publication, which is on Friday. And we're going to have a LinkedIn Live event, and we invite you to go and check the LinkedIn events on our page on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Maureen. And definitely thank you so much, Tünde, for being my partner in this.
Absolutely. And big thanks to you, Angelis.
Venture.
And such a smooth ride with you. I mean, I absolutely recommend Angelis' services. She is the greatest publisher ever, okay? So, and we don't even know each other, and we just had a smooth ride. I mean, it's incredible, Angelis. So
yeah, I know.
I'm drawing all my 6 hats to you here, the Bono hats, yeah. I don't know how you do that, but this has been a smooth ride. Thank you very much.
It's a good combination. It's the core passion and purpose was there, so it was easy after that. So